Should Blitz and Stolas be together? Helluva Boss Season 2 Episode 9 just dropped, and it had me thinking about my own relationship history and how I feel about relationships in general. How have I felt like Blitz and Stolas in the past? And is there something that I, and maybe we as the audience, can learn from these characters' problematic romance? Play bad romance clip. Do I relate more to Blitz, who's not very in touch with his emotions, deeply flawed, but still not very considerate of his partners? Or Stolas, the kind and patient owl prince, who's just looking for someone to accept and care for him as he is? Have I been in toxic relationships before? For a bit of context, in case you're not caught up, Stolas is a prince of hell, and Blitz is an imp, which essentially means that there's a big class divide between the two, Blitz being on the lower end.
What should we do with him?
Blitz runs a business that helps souls in hell get revenge on the living. This requires traveling to the mortal realm, which is where Stolas comes in. He has a grimoire that allows travel to the human world. Blitz shows up one night to steal this book, but Stolas catches him. To get out of any potential repercussions, Blitz pretends that he had sexy intentions, and the two end up having quite a scandalous night.
I can do this real fast.
This motivates Stolas to divorce his wife, and he falls madly in love with Blitz. Blitz's motivations are a little bit less certain. He seems enamored with the prince too in his own way, but also seems annoyed with him. He turns situations hypersexual, and it seems like a defense mechanism to avoid getting close.
Deserves the choice to stay or go, though it scares me to think what I'd lose.
Can't wait to lose ourselves in nasty sex and make that bird.
The relationship remains transactional because of this book and is quite sexually charged. Until this last episode, Season 2, Episode 8, where Stolas gave Blitz a legal way for his business to travel to the human world without Stolas needing to be involved. So there is no longer a situation that requires them to be together. Stolas symbolically sets Blitz free in order for Blitz to be able to make a choice to stay in the relationship. But Blitz doesn't see it that way.
I mean, you royal fucks think you can do this every time. Like you can just play with our feelings because we're smaller and not as important.
Blitz lashes out in anger and kind of abusively yells at Stolas for being pompous. He thinks so low of himself that he can't see this as anything else but Stolas using him as a plaything and letting him go now that he's not good enough. When Stolas only wanted someone to love and cherish him, and someone that he also loved and cherished and thinks very highly of. Now, this story might seem wild and unrealistic to a lot of people. Like, none of us are dating a prince and have this huge class divide, right? And sure, nothing that politically exaggerated, but I've had struggles like this in my relationships, and I imagine a lot of people actually have. I lived a... I had a lot of absolutely incredible, fun, wild stories, but I also had traumatic experiences and found intense amounts of emotional pain. And I wasn't dealing with a lot of this stuff really well, and it might have impacted my relationships when I look back. This rough time in my life really messed with my sense of image. In this way, I feel like Blitz. I've struggled to deal with emotions. I bottle shit up for really long periods of time without knowing it, and suddenly melt down at strange and sometimes really socially inconvenient times. But deep down, I kinda do know where it's all coming from. And I don't really like getting too close to people to talk about stuff like that. I feel almost weird talking about it right now. So at the start of Season 2, Episode 9, when I see Blitz falling through Stolas' garden at the start of the episode, I feel a sort of relief. Like at the end of the last episode, I was so sad that both characters were so hurt from their conversation that when I saw that there was another glimpse of hope, it got me excited that I was maybe able to see them try again and be better for each other.
I don't want to feel worse than I already do.
I'm waiting for you to realize how good an angry fuck would be right now.
Get out.
What? Fuck you, Stolas. You spring this feelings bullshit on me. Are you fucking kidding?
But then there's another part of me. A part of me that remembers other relationships, ones where I was being burned time and time again, and the promise of things getting better was just keeping me stuck in an unhealthy cycle. I think about Stolas and how he just wants to be cared about and loved by someone that he loves. And he loves, well, this guy.
Millie, I am not above hitting a female in front of her dad. I challenge you to a fucking challenge.
Fuck, I said that twice.
Are we actually killing a family?
No, don't be a puss. We're just killing a mother.
You know, you have really nice eyes, Daddy.
And jokes aside, when I think about some of my experiences, I want Stolas to be treated so well. No, he deserves to be treated well. Stolas is being so kind and openly communicative, and Blitz is kinda just being an asshole. So why should I sympathize with him? Stolas ought to find love with someone way better, and I hope he moves on to a more healthy person. But look how happy he looks with Blitz.
Oh, I've never had anyone want me this way. You have no idea how long I've craved this kind of passion.
You know, it's quite thrilling to see you on the job, Blitzy.
Save it, bitch. I'm working.
Then you walked in my room, and like sparks in the dark, life was suddenly thrilling and new.
I know that feeling, and it can be blissful. More like blitzful, am I right? And Blitz does care in his own kind of fucked up way, so I don't know, maybe they can make it work. You see this conundrum here? This is what someone in a toxic relationship actually can experience. The show is exhibiting it for our spectation, but makes us feel the same conflicting ways about Blitz that someone in that situation might feel. It makes us love Stolas for being so fucking precious. I mean, look at this lovely owl.
In a romantic way, like I'm standing out in the rain at a train station and someone is shouting, "Harriet, don't get on that train, it's going to London."
And then it sets him up romantically with our flawed protagonist. So flawed that we don't know if we actually want to see them together, but he's still the protagonist, and we can't help but empathize with him because we're seeing a huge part of this from his perspective. And it makes us want to understand them. We want Stolas to have the love that he deserves, but we're not sure if Blitz can be better. We're not sure if he deserves someone like Stolas. Hell, Blitz isn't even sure if he deserves someone like Stolas. But that's also part of what we don't want him to feel. We want people to feel like they deserve love, so
I hate when it's complicated. Why do I always end up in situations that are complicated?
Blitz and Stolas' conversation at the start of this episode doesn't go well. Stolas is understandably upset, and Blitz still sucks at expressing his feelings.
You want me to be like, oh, sorry, this entire time I assumed the worst because I was convinced a prince could never love someone like me, and I've let my self-hatred stop me from apologizing to anyone I could never care about?
Well, yes.
Well, fuck you!
And it ends with Blitz defending himself for not apologizing to Stolas. In fact, he feels so justified in how he acted, and so justified with not giving an apology to Stolas specifically, that he goes on a whole fucking apology tour to tell every single other person that he's ever wronged in his life that he's sorry, except for Stolas. Well, he apologized for some things anyway.
I'm sorry for always telling it like it is, sister.
Keep this in mind for the end of the episode. You might see where I'm going with this. At the same time, Stolas gets invited to a fuck Blitzo party, where invites are pretty much all of his exes. While Stolas meets the enormous league of evil exes that Blitz has to his name, Blitz goes to apologize to a bunch of different people, specifically people that we've seen throughout the show. The Cherubs, the secret agents, that one woman they killed way back at the start of the show. On a side note, it was kind of fun to see all these tied together, though we all know who Blitz really needs to apologize to. Which leads him to the party with all of his exes, all of the people who hate him the most. And my god, I was really expecting some sort of really high-octane conflict that ended up in like a crazy fight scene with maybe like Stolas needing to save Blitz. And I was really worried that that was gonna happen because it would have added such an intense layer of emotional complexity to this dynamic, which is already so messy. Like, oh my gosh, we do not need some weird savior shit on top of everything else going on. That would have been a horrible timeline. I'm glad we're not there. He realizes he must talk to Stolas, who is very drunk.
You're lucky everyone is drunk or you would be murdered right now.
Great time for a chat, obviously. Here, Blitz confesses his self-worth issues and kind of explains where he's been coming from emotionally. And he apologizes. And for where Stolas is already, having already been hurt, with the damage already been done, this is very confusing and painful for him. Stolas straight up asks him why on earth he would feel like he doesn't matter.
There is a crowd full of people here who cared so much they throw an entire fucking party about hating you.
Which is also paralleled with Why would Blitz go through all of this trouble to apologize to everyone but Stolas unless he really cared about Stolas? And that's where I was going with that point earlier. If you got it, well done. Hit the like button to celebrate. But here he does try to communicate that he doesn't understand why someone would love him. And honestly, it almost feels like manipulation. Like, oh, come back to me. I'm a broken person. Come comfort me, the person who wronged you. And in that sense, it is kind of manipulative. How tempting it must be for Stolas to want to comfort Blitz because he still feels love for him. But he's still heartbroken and is already trying to move on from these feelings of being sad and hurt. Stolas needs time to heal, and no matter how bad Blitz wants to fix things, at this point, you really can't. That pain that he's feeling is real, and what if they did give Blitz another chance only to feel this again and again and again? And one thing we established is that Stolas deserves better than that.
Yeah, he does.
I deserved better than that. Those times that I let my emotions take a back seat so that I could try to help my partner work on being better so that I wouldn't feel so bad. And to see Stolas potentially fall into an unhealthy cycle like that, it hurts, and it reminds me of how bad that can be. That can be toxic, and as much as I want to see Blitz succeed, I don't want Stolas to be harmed to make that happen. And we don't deserve that treatment ourselves. And just to clarify really quick, it's not like black and white, like you're Blitz and you're struggling and you shouldn't be in a relationship because you need to work on yourself, or you're Stolas and you're totally fine and ready to date. Good for you. It's way more complicated than that. And this is just a cartoon exploring one element of tons of different relationship dynamics that maybe some people have experienced. So don't take it too seriously. We're just having fun analyzing cartoons here. They're interrupted by another imp who asks Stolas to dance with him. And this imp is buffer and has a much less batshit first impression than Blitz. Just saying, doesn't help with the whole lack of self-worth thing. Anyway, Stolas accepts the dance and Blitz kind of accepts it too and backs off. Blitz eventually has a conversation with Verosika, which was maybe my favorite moment of the episode. Instead of her reacting violently and trying to stab him in some over-the-top way, and I mean literally stab him, not metaphorically, they just kind of talk. She tries to explain to him why all these people hate him and why she hates him. And it seems like the part of her that still kind of has those feelings of love still wants to see him get it and do better. Blitz knows that he's shitty too, and it plays into this very real sense of him not being worthy of love.
You're expecting sympathy? Oh, poor Blitz. Finally having to own that his actions affect other people's fifis. Bitch, please.
Blitz fights jealousy as he watches Stolas with this new guy, and Verosika makes the concluding point. To this episode, as well as my video, the best thing that Blitz could do.
You know, if you want to change, it just starts with saying, good for him. Hope he gets laid.
And Blitz actually does that. Sure, he's still gonna fail sometimes, but today he worked towards forming healthier habits and norms for himself. Now, I know some people identify with both Stolas and Blitz in a lot of ways. You might want to see them together, you might want to see Stolas get the love he deserves, you might even want to see Blitz try and move on to something that works more for him naturally well, and that he shouldn't need to change. Regardless, I think the moral of this story, and what I personally agree with for an ending, is that Blitz, and maybe me, and maybe you, maybe who knows, needs just as much time as Stolas does. But he can at least work on himself and the choices that he makes and his habits so that he no longer hurts people. You might also be in Stolas' shoes, and if you're not being treated well in your relationship, know that it shouldn't be that way, and you can let go of that person even if it hurts. Even if you've never felt this way or been in a situation like this, the show, in the most recent string of episodes specifically, does a fantastic job exploring relationship dynamics and philosophy, and it offers a unique and interesting story. And hell, maybe I'm just totally projecting and confusing my own issues with love and self-worth and the desire for human connection with these unrelated silly cartoons. Let me know in the comments what you think. Did you connect with these characters in some way? And hey, if you made it this far, like the video, hit subscribe, and maybe become a member of the channel so you can help support me getting more videos like this done, and, you know, all the YouTube stuff that is helpful when you give YouTubers money. Thank you!